We're going to start with this social media boycott. I want a show of hands here. Does anyone here think that somebody has sat down at their laptop this morning and thought, right, I'm going to rattle off a bit of racial abuse. Oh, no, I won't do that because there was a social media boycott. Did that happen this morning? No. So if it didn't happen, what was the point of this boycott? Kyle, let's start with you.
For me, the point of the boycott and something that I took part in, I logged out of all my socials for 4 days, was actually to create a conversation. We're here talking about this now. I know that Sky Sports took part in it as well. It's about people coming together and actually showing the social media companies that we need to tackle this, and we actually need to tackle online abuse. It's not just about tackling it this morning. It's not going to change overnight. These 4 days aren't going to change this overnight, but it's about creating a conversation. And as Thierry Henry said last night, causing a wave. He came off social media in March, and here we are all coming together this weekend. And it wasn't just myself, it wasn't just footballers, it wasn't just the Premier League, it was people across all sports, people across so many different communities as well, that were actually coming together to do something. You could say, what's the point in any peaceful protest? Well, there is a point in them, because we're looking at what's next, what's actually to come from this, from all of our actions. Everyone decided to come off for 4 days. That's great. What do we do next? Where do we move on from this? What do we achieve from those 4 days, and how do we implement it to actually actively cause change?
You mention, a conversation to raise awareness, Kyle. And I suppose, Ade, I'll bring you in here as well. We are already talking about it. Whether or not everyone came off social media for 4 days, it was already in the media. There were already conversations about this, no? How has this catapulted that conversation forward, or helped to raise awareness further than there already was?
Simple answer is I don't think it has, if I'm honest with you. I did it. I came off the place where I think it is most vile and most abusive, and that's Twitter. I said, okay, let's remove that. It wasn't because I thought it was going to evoke any change. I've done it for my own sanity, if I'm honest with you. And that's what it is. I don't think that this has been looked at the right way. A lot of the blame has now, for some reason, been shifted towards social media companies, whether that be mainly Instagram and Twitter. I think we've shifted the blame away from the people, the idiot, that are actually doing the abuse online. And I think it needs to go back to them rather than to Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, who for some reason all the blame, and I mean all of it, has been kind of put on their doorstep. What about the people that are actually doing this? What about the prosecution for those people? And let's not forget the person that was found guilty of abusing Ian Wright. Right, that went to court, if I'm not mistaken. What happened there? Why are we not blaming the courts for what they're doing, which is clearly nothing? I mean, I remember speaking to Darren Lewis, and he said, and I completely agree with him, that the crime has to actually be bigger than the prosecution, has to be bigger than the crime in this instance. We need to make a statement. We need to smash a nut with an axe. It needs to be very, very big. So those people at home, like Mike said in the beginning, if you're at home and you're online and you're about to do something serious, you're like, well, wait a minute. Let's not forget he got that crime for doing that. That's how it stopped. Nothing other than that. So, yes, I came on social media, but again, more for my sanity, more than me thinking it's going to come to some sort of change in the way people push themselves online.
Kyle, isn't that absolutely the point there, Kyle? He's absolutely right, isn't it? Because we're giving a free pass to the people writing this filth. They write it, they sit back, they get off on the furore, and we all go, oh, what's social media companies doing? Isn't he absolutely right? If we prosecute those people, find them, then other people will be terrified to do it because they know what's coming.
100%, and that's actually what we need to be doing, but we need to work with the social media companies as well. So instead of shifting the blame completely on social media companies, the blame is 100% on the people, as Ade said, the idiots that are doing this, but we need to work with the social media companies, and I think that's where the break in communication is, and that's what this weekend might have been about for some people. It's actually communicating to the social media companies, we need to take a stand, and we need people to come together, including the social media companies as well. I want the prosecutions. I want people to be punished for this. I don't want to report something, then 4 days later get a message from a social media company that says they didn't break our terms, they didn't violate anything. Well, they clearly did, because you can see the racist language that they've used. You can see the online abuse. You can see it in front of you. But for some reason, these people are getting away with this, and that's where we need to start. We need to make sure that they don't get away with it, and then we need to prosecute them. We need to make sure that the punishment shows to people we are cracking down on this and it cannot happen again, and make people think twice before they press send on that tweet or that comment.
Yeah, I know earlier you mentioned Thierry Henry, and he was speaking on the Monday Night Football yesterday. Let's hear from him because, you know, of course, he was one of the pioneers in this space because he came off Twitter a long time ago because he feels the social media companies need to do more as well.
It's a start. What can we do in order to make them act? Next step, myself, I don't particularly know, because in my power, myself, I did what I could do about it. And the strength of the pack, to say it, I always say, the power of the strength of the pack is amazing. And
I was interested listening to Thierry Henry there because he said that this boycott was a first step. And I have an issue with that because to my mind, how can it be 2021 and this is the first step in combating online hate when it's been going on for years and years and years? Ade, what do you think?
Yeah.
Is this the first step?
No, and look, absolutely love Thierry Henry, and I do think he's incorrect in what he means in that sense. First step, and he mentioned it's a start to what? Are we talking about a start to eradicate online abuse and racism and everything that we see, and the reason why we came off social media? I'm not sure it is, and it shouldn't be the first step. Like you say, Jess, this is 2021, and I think there are people that have been working behind the scenes for many, many years to try and eradicate what has been going on online, not just online, but just in general in life and walks of life. So I don't know if this is the start. Maybe it's the start for us showing social media companies that we're not going to accept it. So maybe that's what he means by saying it's the start. Maybe it's a case of, okay, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wake up. You need to have your own sort of due diligence on what you police on your platform. So maybe it's the start for that. But a start in sort of stopping abuse online, no, not at all. People have been working behind the scenes tirelessly for years. Mike's been working behind the scenes tirelessly for years. Jess, you have. Carl, you have as well. I know I have. So look, I don't think it's the start, but I do think, like Carl said at the beginning, we're now having conversations about it. And I think that's the most important thing. We're now having conversations. I think conversations can bring about change. Yes, slow change, but change nonetheless.
Kyle, when we started here, you said it's brought people together these last 4 days. But wasn't there a lot of performative activism going on? Wasn't there a lot of people thinking, we have to get involved in this? This is organisations I'm talking about. We have to get involved because if we don't, we'll look bad.
Definitely, and that's what you're always going to find. We saw that last year. We've seen it for many times. Whenever something like this comes, whether it's a black square on your Instagram page, whether it's this coming off social media for 4 days, it's very easy for it to be performative, and it's very easy for people to get involved in these things, for it to be performative, for them to look good. And that's what is tiring in a way, is you're always going to be labelled with that, because it's true, people are doing that. Let's be completely honest with it. People have come off social media for 4 days because they want to make it look like, oh, well, I work in football or I work in sport, so I want to look like I'm with the cause. I support you all. That's great. If you want to do that, then okay, but what are the actions that are going on behind the scenes? Last year, when everyone was putting up those black squares on their Instagram, all well and good, but when I put mine up, I put a caption with it that said, don't let this be just a black square. This isn't just a black square for me. This is my life. So actually, what are we doing? How are we actively striving for change? And that is what these 4 days are about as well. Let's not just go back to being normal on social media like people will, like I will. That's okay, but what are you also doing then? Let's continue these conversations. Let's not this in a month forget about it and we're looking to do the next thing. We're looking to boycott something else again. What comes from this? And that is how we make sure it isn't performative, because it's very easy for it to slip into being performative and for it to be 4 days and then be forgotten about. No, let's continue these conversations. All these big organisations that came off social media for 4 days, Great. What are you going to do next? How do you stop online abuse? How do you stop abuse on your own channels? How do you stop abuse in real life within your organisations as well? This isn't just about online or just about offline. This is about abuse in general and changing this culture that people have got where they think it's okay to actually use this language and to say these things. So everyone needs to look within themselves and actually say, what am I doing? What am I personally looking at to change what is happening in the real world?
I'm not on social media, and I want to know why you guys put yourself through this. So, Ade, what's in it for you?
I don't know. Honestly, we've got to a stage, Mike, where I'm very close to coming off it completely because I get absolutely no joy from it anymore. And there are times when, you know, you're on there and you meet people and you have discussions, and that's fantastic. But I think majority of the time right now, it's and look, I said at the start, I came off from my sanity, and I've not gone back on Twitter yet. And I'm considering not to go back on Twitter because, look, I've had abuse online. I remember joining organisations like Sky and other broadcasters, and people were saying, "What's he doing there?" And all Sky are ticking a box, and this organisation's ticking a box. It's like, why do I need to see that when I wake up in the morning? Remove myself from it. Sometimes I do think me removing myself from it is the abuser winning. But at the same time, I feel like for my own sanity, for my own peace of mind, you can win. You can win this battle. There's a war that I would like to win. You can win this small one. And sometimes I feel like I don't see the reason to be on it. And I'm close to coming off completely just because I think the abuse is too much. I've seen abuse. Look, I can handle it. I think I'm a 40-year-old man. I feel like I can handle it. But there are other people around me, young females. There's a young girl that works for Chelsea. There's like a fan channel for Chelsea, and I saw some of the abuse she receives, and it's disgraceful and it's disgusting and it's hurtful, and I don't know why she has to put up with it. So, look, it's a tough question, Mike, but for me, I don't see the point in being on it anymore because the negative now outweighs the positive.
So the question moving forward then is, you know, how do we actually stop this? Because, Carl, you mentioned the fact that these organisations that took part need to perhaps look within. How many ethnically diverse staff do they have? If you look on their website, do they have ethnically diverse staff in leadership positions? Do their staff reflect the audience that consumes their product? Questions like that. Is that how we get to the bottom of this?
I mean, it's tiring that we're having this conversation again, isn't it? And we asked that question, how do we actually stop this? I don't know. It's not going to be a 4-day boycott of social media, and it's not going to be the next thing that comes around. Maybe it is about looking within. It's looking at those leadership positions. It's looking at this screen right now, us four on here on Sky Sports News. There would have been a time that this would have never have happened. Things are actively changing, but there will still be people at home. I'll probably go into social media at some point today and they'll say, why are those 4 people on Sky Sports News? This is normal. This is us talking about these things. This is us talking about football or talking about sports. This should be considered normal, but to some people it's not. So until we can actually change that culture, that way of thinking, to show that 4 black people can be on TV and it be normal, well, that's when we start to get a bit of change.
Absolutely. Do you know
and
what?
we all laugh there. Sorry, Mike. We all laugh there about that because we all know it's true, right? I mean, we are all going to go.
We all know it's going to happen, Ade. We all know it's going to happen.
We're going to see the comments, and that's ridiculous. Everyone deserves to be here, not because of their colour, because of what we've done to get here. And we are all going to see the comments, and the comments are all going to reflect exactly what Carl said.
Say hi to those people for me.